Hey
David, how
Kevin,
you
how are
doing, brother?
you? How everything is going these days with the crypto market? I mean, everybody is so afraid this past month because of the crash. And right before you came, we were talking about how Bitcoin went down. And some of the people on live, they were like, "Yeah, we're having a crash right now
Yeah,
for
well,
only $500."
if you wanna just get right into it, then the fact is that there's a million different things going on at the same time. It's not just one factor that's kind of hitting the markets right now. So yeah, we'll get into it. We'll chat about it. But $500 up and down is not.
It's
It's not
nothing
nothing.
in comparison.
It's just a normal morning. Just another morning. Yeah. How are
Yeah,
you?
yeah, that's cool. So, it's, I'm doing great actually. Well, I've been busy working with some smart contracts and DeFi zone and getting ready. I mean, to move into a little bit of
Amazing.
NFT smart
Amazing.
contract development. So uh, it's tricky. It's tricky to be honest with you. It's a
Yeah.
very big world. The more I'm looking at it, with DeFi, it's one side of the curtain. The other side is like metaverse, NFTs. It made so many things possible, and like
Yeah. Well,
you can expect
to be
even
honest,
more.
some people are
So
saying there's
if
noise from my side. There's my voice is breaking. I hear you just fine.
is it?
Maybe
Yeah, I
you have
hear
a
you just
problem with
fine
your
as
voice,
well.
Kevin.
So let me just.
Interesting. Hello, hello, hello. Testing.
I
One,
have
two.
I have
Testing,
it
testing.
perfect and clear.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
already here. I guess
Great.
we're on,
Perfect.
Kevin.
Let's rock.
So
Let's rock.
let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's get right into it. So, Kevin, it's all about you, and I guess let's go back a little bit. The first time we met was in 2018 in Istanbul, right? There you were a member of this event called what was the name of the event? Can you elaborate on that?
I think it was blockchain economy was the name of the event.
Yeah,
It was in 2018 Istanbul. Yeah, I was doing a lot of speaking, still do a lot of speaking around the world, and then I was throwing private events for investors and startups, and I believe you were also working with a startup back then,
yeah, we
working
did.
with them, and then we met you there. It was a good time. It was also my birthday, so that was a good moment, and
Yeah, yeah, true.
different time in crypto. It was a much more fun
It
time.
was,
Now
it
it's a
was a
much more
fun time.
serious time.
Yeah, 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 it is. But remember, at the time, it was just after the crash of 2017, so
Yep, yep.
everything was very much on hold, I guess, for the VCs and everything. But that event was marvelous. I'm sure a lot of more events have popped up. You were recently in a recent event. Where was it in the U.S. in California? The
There was a few. There was Florida, Bahamas, and then so we were in Miami for Bitcoin Miami, which is the world's largest Bitcoin conference. And
yeah,
then
yeah. I guess
we went to Bahamas for a little bit, and then there's just it's just conference season. They say the two people making money in crypto are lawyers and event organizers. Other than that, everybody's
every,
chasing their tail. So these two group of people are
everybody's
the only one
fluctuating
making
on
money.
their ship, up and
Yeah,
down with the
right,
waves.
right. But yeah, it's exciting times. Always exciting. We've been here for a long time. I've been in the space since about 2012. So it's just another day that we're, rolling with the punches. And, the technology is going to grow, and that's everybody knows it. Everybody's focused on the price or the products, but they forget that the technology every day is taking a bit of market share away from older technologies, older systems, and that's what's probably the most exciting part of all of this. That's what gets you up in the
it's
morning.
It certainly is. Tell us a little about your experience with the Miami event, because it was like one of the ones that had like this big PR around it, with a lot
Sure.
of people excited and hyping, and you
Yeah.
were there. It's really nice
Yeah.
hearing
I
from
mean,
the person
it's
with the
like you said,
first-hand experience.
it's a lot of hype. These conferences, a lot of them have a lot of hype around them because they want to do the marketing. Obviously, they want to get people there. I told you the only two people making money in crypto are event
Event
organizers and
organizers,
lawyers.
lawyers.
So of course, they do a good job, but the speakers were amazing. I learned a lot from, I've listened to him speak a lot, but like Mike Novogratz and Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is one of the earliest investors in PayPal, Facebook. He's a visionary. He's really, everything he touches is gold. And so to hear him talk about crypto, the markets, blockchain is really amazing. He has a recording from 1999, and I'll play this recording. I'll post it, but it's pretty much in 1999. He was predicting digital money, digital wallets, the way mobile adoption would be growing, the way we use mobile for payment, and everything he said, literally every single
It
thing he
just
said was
step by
happening.
step
Yeah,
came in.
everything
Yeah.
happened, but the numbers changed. Maybe he said 300 million, it was like 1.5 billion. And so that's why he's been successful, because when you're able to see the future, then you're able to do cool things today. I know what the future looks like for robotics. I know what the future looks like for AI and automation. So if that's where we know it's going, then you should put your money where your mouth is, and get invested into those companies or in those products. And I know
Areas. And, yeah.
absolutely, blockchain is eventually going to break the way banking is done. It doesn't mean it's going to break the banks and the banks are going to go to zero. That's not how this world works, but it is going to break the technology. It's going to, the way remittance is done,
Alter it or
100%
like
enhance it.
deconstruct the whole thing in a
Sure.
very, very different way.
Yeah, and then you
I mean,
have like Web3. You have obviously the money of Web3 would be crypto, right? The technology of Web3 is blockchain. So Web3 is just the next iteration of where we're going. And so you got to see from where we've come to see where we're going. And guys like Peter Thiel do a great job at that, I think. He's proven it time and time and again. So really excited to hear him speak. And yeah, it was a great event. Events are events. Events are
yeah,
events.
there's always a little
It's
hype
what
and
you
there's
do with
always
it.
exciting in the networking. So,
It's what you
one
do
of
with
those,
the events.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, it's what actually brought us together, and it's what keeps us moving forward with the networks and all those things. But most importantly, I think events at a particular time has really helped Bitcoiners, connect and grow, because it has not always been a system of it has been a network within itself, but it has not been like a way for people to communicate in terms of Bitcoin, maybe not Ethereum and smart contract platforms. So speaking about that,
Yeah,
what do you think about what do you think about these new smart
yeah,
contract platforms that are popping up? Ethereum was in 2013. It start pushing the gears forward. But then after a while, Cardano came. Now Solana is here, and a lot of layer two solutions. Very
right.
recently, you were talking about layer two solutions, and so what
Yeah,
do you think about that?
yeah. I mean,
Which ones do you favor?
yeah. Well, it's tough because I look at like industry specific. If I'm going to speak about like blockchains, you got to look at like industry specific. So something that's interesting right now is obviously like banking and financial systems, but also like real estate and the market for real estate. The smart contract solutions that are going to be able to do the great things in the real estate market, I think, is pretty amazing. Remittance is a big problem, being able to make the world a smaller place as to send money. Money sending should not be expensive. It should not be difficult. But for about 120 years now, nothing has changed. You have companies like Western Union, which send money around the world. But for over 100 years, it's taken, well, back then it used to be with horse and carriage. You want to send money from LA to New York, you have to send it with a horse, right? Literally. And then it became a version of some type of digital where they would have fiduciary on that side. They would have a benefactor on this side, and then you would send the money. It still took 3 to 7 days and 7% charge. Now in 2022, even if you want to send money, it still takes 3 to 7 days, and there's still a 7% charge. So nothing has been innovated in 100 years with these companies, because that's how they make money, right? They make money by charging us and holding it for
Yeah.
a period of
Staying
time.
the intermediary, basically.
Right. So a smart contract solution for just simply remittance or payment for two people around the world for a common cause, such as real estate, is probably the biggest opportunity, because you don't have to travel from China or anywhere in the world. That buyers in America, mostly Chinese, come and buy our real estate, high value real estate. And so the only reason for that is because there needs to be a broker, there needs to be a seller, and then the money gets held in escrow, and then the money gets paid from this side to that side. It takes 30 days, takes 45 days. And this is like ultimately a
Yeah.
broken system that a very simple smart contract can solve. Once this side is KYC'd and that side is KYC'd, the money is held in the literal. It's still an escrow, but it's via smart contract
It's an
solution.
escrow that doesn't
And
give too much intermediary credit to
no,
third parties, right?
it is the first, second, and third party all in one, right? It's right there. So once this happens, you can have payment transferred within seconds, and once the KYC process is done, the home can be almost bought within seconds or minutes once all that process is taken care of. And the next one is obviously banking. The problem with banking and financial transactions is the speed of transactions. So recently you've had Solana that's trying to fight with the TPS rate. That's their main goal, is to up the TPS rate, the transactions per second rate. And but still they're not even close to someone like Visa, MasterCard, because Visa,
Yeah.
MasterCard is hundreds of thousands per second, whereas Solana is still sub 100K.
Yeah.
And
True.
it might be a good solution right now, but it's not sustaining for the capital markets. It's not sustaining for everyday use right now. So we still got some
So
work to do.
yeah, we definitely do. But do you think layer two solutions at the moment, what we have in, Ethereum 1.0, Ethereum version 1. Now, I mean, Vitalik tells us that V2, I mean, the version 2 of Ethereum could actually make this work with, roll-ups, sharding, and these sort of things. But we're not there yet. And it's always, there's always a big delay. So we've been waiting for Ethereum 2.0 for a very long time. But
Yeah.
with what we currently have is like the roll-ups like optimism with a blockchain or arbitrum one. Do you think these layers would actually help with that, trying to expand the markets for newcomers and then be able to compete with Visa or Mastercard?
To be able to compete, that last part of your question, we still have a long way to go, right? It's still very, the between first and second place is a long distance, right? It's not
Difference.
it's not very close. So to answer the second part of your question, you don't know what you don't know. We have to see when these technologies get added. No one would have thought Solana coming out so quickly to fight the TPS rate and do great things for that uh, could be so successful. Now, a lot of their stuff is marketing as well. Solana is a great project. Don't get me wrong. I've been from day one. You can look at my Instagram. I've said, for over a year and a half now, get on it, because it's the best solution that we've had. There's no 10 other options, right? If you look at the market, there's not 10 different options to fight against what Solana is doing. So, to fight with now Visa and MasterCard, they have a long way to go. To answer the first part of your question with like what Ethereum, 1.0 to 2.0, again, they've been pushing this back for years now, as they should, because it's probably not ready, in the sense that the market's not ready for it.
Yeah, we don't want an
Now,
Ethereum crash after all.
well, that's for ETH itself, the token, the coin. You're going to see probably a big impact there, because as it moves to a layer two solution more closely for the competition of, those TPS rates. I think that's the biggest advantage, is to take market share away from Visa, MasterCard as a purpose of transactions, because that's the only thing limiting cryptocurrency from adoption, is the fact
Yeah.
that you can't charge something within seconds, just like you can with your Visa card, MasterCard. And that's probably the biggest hurdle for adoption. Once, obviously, that gets solved, it's not something I'm saying, it's something quite obvious, then you're going to see billions of people use it. And of course, the adoption rate overnight will go. Uh, I just think that they've been pushing this back for such a long time to A, not rattle the markets, B, they're probably not ready, and C, they keep making it better. I want to give credit where credit is due. I hope that the third one is the fact that they keep making it stronger, better, faster, right? You want a
Yeah.
product to come
And
out
cheaper
perfect.
as well.
Well, then I jumped in your call, this call, when you were talking with your audience about gas fees and things like that, right? Gas fees is also the detriment of the market and the adoption rate, because my mother, who wants to use, crypto, she's never going to be able to understand what the problem with these gas fees are, or why she should get on at a certain time because gas is lower. This is like
Yeah, certainly.
very bad for the market's adoption rate, because if you want adoption to happen, you got to make it just very simple all across the board. Right now, what's happening with specifically gas fees, it's a highly sophisticated product. And if you don't know about it and when to use it, then you're really just losing a lot of money in transactional items. And why should we be losing money
To
transacting?
just,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. You want to use the
burning. Yeah,
contracts. I mean, quite often you have to use and interact with them more and more. And then for me, even as a professional user of Ethereum, I know that, all right, I have to make less contract calls, I have to make less contract transactions, just because the gas fees are extremely high at some point. Now, let alone when you want to buy NFTs, you want to compete, and the prices are going high. Like quite a few weeks ago, we have had this issue with one of those NFTs that brought the gas fees to basically touch the ceiling. I don't
sure.
know if you've heard about it or not, but it was very very big news for the day.
Well,
Vitalik even talked about it.
I don't know exactly which day you're talking. I remember a couple of weeks ago, the NFT project, the Bored Ape land sale, and the Bored Ape land sale for the other side, which is their metaverse. Everybody wanted to get on it, and the gas fees were just insane. I think, if I'm not mistaken, what was the number? 500 million in sales, 100 million in gas, something like that. 100 million
Yeah, so
dollars
many
in
people were
gas.
actually left behind. Actually,
Well, I mean,
lost
but
so much money to it,
a hundred
basically.
million in gas, that's being burned, right? And so the burning mechanism is extremely sophisticated. For people that don't understand, excuse me, like burning mechanisms, then you can really learn about that for how crypto works, and kind of like how we're not there yet. It's still kind of behind, in the sense that if that's what it takes to get a transaction done, then we have a long way to go for now. I don't think that this is good for the market by any means, and I don't think it's also good that. I think it's good that there's cheaper options, such as the Polygon network, the Solana network, that are doing their NFTs based there. But again, I go back to transactions at the supermarket, or at the backgalley or whatever. We have to make it
Yeah,
faster,
true.
better, stronger. And I don't know if they're solving that problem right now. I don't. Well, I know they're not solving that problem. So I'm just keep waiting. Everybody says Solana, TPS, it's still very low. If you look at Telos, TELOS, the Telos network for many years has been proving their TPS solution, TPS rate, uh, pretty down packed. It's up there. It's tested. It's on. Solana is very new. Most of the stuff coming out is just marketing.
Yeah,
So I'd
and
like to see
then
more meat
you
on
could
the bone.
actually see some things to make sure Solana works. You actually want a secure, stable network. Like a few
Yeah.
days ago, Solana had this issue with the timing of the network versus the timing of the reality. They actually fell 30 minutes behind. And it
Wow.
doesn't make a big deal, but at the end of the day, a lot of people who are, staking money, they could get robbed of what they could really make profit out of. So,
Sure.
um, I mean, you
Sure.
definitely see issues popping up and things are being developed, things are being improved. And that's what these whole improvement proposals, for example, having a burnt, Ethereum chain rather than what it used to be a year ago, which you could basically pay all of it, set a basically bid to miners and they could use it. No burn fees, no burnt Ethereums. But let's talk about NFTs. I know you're a big advocate of, tokenizing stuff. And before this whole concept of NFTs came forward, you were working on property tokenization, if I'm not mistaken. Tell
Yep.
me if I'm right. So
Yep.
let's move in and jump into NFT sector and talk about sector by sector.
Yep.
We have property sectors, real estates, we have
Yep.
fashion, and then eventually we could talk about a little bit of metaverse as well, and art, music, ticketing,
Yeah.
a lot of industries.
Exactly. All of the ones that you just said are amazing products. I think I look at NFTs as the last word of non-fungible tokens. Tokens as tokenomics, tokenization is extremely interesting, and it goes across all those sectors that you just said. I think what we're seeing right now in art is great. It's fantastic. I'm not an artist myself. I've never been an artist. I've never been a kind of creative, and I love that it kind of broke a 1,000-year old industry. Art is a big industry for hundreds of years, and yet overnight became digitalized, right? Overnight became tokenized. And I think that's super amazing. But when I look at the technology of what it's capable of, I think real estate is probably the most exciting part of it, because what you can do with real estate, from, like I said, the smart contract side, and kind of breaking down the world into a smaller place. People don't need to travel to buy a piece of land. People can do it through an NFT. They can fractionally own the NFT. In the future, I think they can even do things like Airbnb model, where they can piece it out and sell a piece of the NFT, which is their home, to someone else, or rent it. And all of that can be baked into an NFT. On the side of like ticketing, you said a couple things like fashion. All of these industries are extremely exciting. But if you look at just like the technology of what's possible, you got to look at things like, like real estate. I keep going back there because I think that it's a $1 trillion market, and to disrupt things that are $1 trillion markets are exciting, because if you break those down and you're taking market share away from the big boys, then you're already creating $1 billion success stories. And I think that that's what we. It's not about the money or the market cap. It's about the size and opportunity. So you don't have to do too many
It
things
sure
right
is.
in order to make a big impact.
Yep. So let me tell you something about the tokenization of real estate. It was one of the earliest projects that I worked with a friend of mine, Arash, and this whole thing was a crave for a lot of people to be able to tokenize lands and be able to sell it. Now, we're not talking about metaverse lands at the moment. We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
real land where you could buy and sell today and everywhere. But the the adoption rate of such idea was not as extreme like 2 or 3 years ago. How do you think the adoption rate of making a land an NFT and making it work and sell it works? Do you know any success stories so far? And you have also worked on this, I guess, in the Eastern Asia. How can you tell us a little more about how those projects are moving forward, and how do you see things are moving forward in terms of real estate, like practically?
Yeah, very, very good question, because practically one word and that's regulations, right? That's just where you're from and what you're capable of doing for the country that you live in. It's sometimes it's out of your hands, not sometimes, it's all the time out of your hands because it's a security, right? You're creating a securitized asset. And I think that that's extremely difficult to do. It's very sensitive. A few years ago, the word STO, security token offering, was a very big product. Our friend Karkia here is not a fan of
Yeah.
crypto. No worries, mate. You can head on out. No one's forcing you to stay. But I had a comment the other day. Just a little funny side story was they were saying, I went to the world's first NFT restaurant based on the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and
So tell us about that as well.
speaking about NFTs, right? And
Yeah.
sorry, we're bouncing
Yeah, of
around, but
course.
since you said NFTs, these arts are actually really exciting because it's your IP, it's your intellectual property. When you buy it, you can do whatever you want with it. And so someone wrote in the comment section of the burger spot that, screw NFTs, screw this burger. This burger sucked, and this restaurant sucks, and it's because of NFTs, and crypto sucks. If you're just closed-minded, then I'm sorry for you. But to see what has happened, okay, the burger was a funny comment, but this guy created a whole restaurant based off of an NFT, which is a picture, which is just literally just a JPEG. But now he's making more money than any of the restaurants around him because it's all marketing and there's a cool,
Yeah. It's a
idea around
marketing
it.
concept, and the whole club is actually coming there
Yeah.
to get to see a network and do these sort of things,
In the
after all, right?
future, yeah, in the future, if a guy like that wants to implement tokenization, tokens, as in crypto payment solutions, how close is he, right? He's right at the front of the line. He's already doing the NFT. He already has the market. Most of the people probably coming to grab a burger are guys like me that have a hot wallet, a MetaMask ready to go on my phone. I can just bang, a transaction over. Harmony Network. It's not a famous one, but I really like the one token Harmony, 3 second up to 3 second transactions. Very quickly I can send my money across the way. And so restaurants like that have not only done a good job at marketing, but they're setting themselves up for success at the front of the line when payments are ready to go, because most of their users are people like me who have a MetaMask with a tiny little bit of money and ready to go to spend it. So I thought that was funny because people who hate crypto or hate NFTs, you really haven't read anything about it, right? You really haven't done the research. You really haven't read any white paper. Does JP Morgan or Wells Fargo or Bank Medlat or whatever, do these have white papers? Is there any place I can go to read their white paper or their thesis or
I
their
doubt
mission
so,
and vision?
honestly.
No, of
I
course they
doubt
don't.
so if there is anything but the self trust that they're
That's
gonna
what I'm saying.
actually
That's what I'm saying.
rub you off. Yeah.
Right. This is the most dangerous thing, is the self-trust we've put in systems that we believe work. But if you look at the backing of them, there's no backing, right? There's nothing behind them. And in my country, there's the Federal Reserve, which is a private company who keeps printing money, and it's not their money. It's not my money. It's just, fake
Yeah.
internet,
It doesn't
fake
even
money.
it doesn't even have to account for real gold, which you call
No,
real
no,
money in the world today.
no, no,
But
no. Those
but it's
days are
just
done.
based on the trust. It's just
Yeah,
based on the trust with Federal Reserves, right?
yeah, those days are done. But yeah, so when people get
You used
angry
to
at
have a
crypto,
bill that
yeah,
accounts that you have this much gold in the
right.
bank. Bye bye.
That was 1971 and before, But our friend Karkia here, who's a little angry at crypto, I would say to him, read the white paper, read different white papers, and compare them, and to see how sophisticated the product is compared to like your bank. And if you understand how banking works, then yeah, I mean, then you'll understand how kind of basic that product is. And the more basic it is, the more opportunity it has to fail, right? That's how I kind of think about it. So yeah, anyway, just to get back to it, I think NFT technology is amazing. I think the digital landscape of the world being able to use these products are amazing. Never in the history have we had opportunities to sell products in countries that people have no access to. We've never had, whether it's Iran, China, Korea, America. With COVID, things became a little more difficult to travel. Shipping, supply chain has broken down, and I think to understand the technology and to use it, I think it's just making the world a smaller place in a good way. And so that everybody can participate in the same marketplace and thrive in that same marketplace. If you looked at the first marketplace in crypto, which was the Silk Road, right? And we should have apologized to our Persian friends here because I know
Yeah,
most
yeah,
of our
we do. I
followers
know a little
are
bit of
Farsi
them
speaking.
are nagging why you're speaking English.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, this is an English podcast, so
Good, good.
that's why I asked Kevin, so
Good.
that we can continue recording this in English. And
Yeah.
we will have sessions in Farsi in the future, so bear
Yeah.
with us, bear
Yeah.
with us. But this is an English session, so
Yeah.
that being said, we can move forward, I guess, with that.
Yeah, no, it's something we'll tell our friends and fans. But yeah, I think the Silk Road marketplace, over almost 10 years now, it's almost 10-year anniversary coming up, or I think it just passed, was the first time in human history that we had a marketplace not owned by any one subsidiary and not with any one currency that can be tracked, traced, followed, manipulated. You know, I shouldn't say stolen because there's hacks, but I think that the Silk Road Marketplace was amazing. Yes, there was a lot of bad things that happened on the Silk Road Marketplace, a lot of whatever bad items that were sold there. But which marketplace isn't? I can argue with the U.S. dollar, you can buy more bad things on the internet than any marketplace in the world. You go to the deep web or the dark web, there's some insane
There is so
things,
much going on back
and
there.
you can use credit cards even to pay. You don't have to use crypto. You can use money, right? If you know someone down the street, you can use cash. Now that's rare, but my point is that the Silk Road got a bad name because of how open it was. I'm sure it must have scared world leaders. It must have scared financial systems because of how sensitive it was. For the first time in human history, you had a marketplace that that was open, that was completely open. And so imagine if that existed today in 2012, 2022, so it existed back then. And so we're seeing little pockets of marketplaces open up around the world. But then I said it a few minutes ago, it always comes down to regulation. How
Yeah,
quickly can
truly.
countries regulate it? How quickly can they catch it and stop it essentially? Uh, I'll give you an
By the
example
way,
of like, yeah, sorry, go for it.
yep. Do you really think that regulation is a matter of discussion? Because at the end of the day, what does a government want to do when they regulate things? They want to regulate things to know who buys something and who doesn't buy. They want to track.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there are like basic elements to that. They want to
precisely,
track and they want to tax.
precisely,
So if they can tax you and that they can track your payments and know who you are, what is your wallet, and then you always have to carry on with that wallet. I mean, there is also this sort of concept in the world that tells like Bitcoin was not created to be taxed or to be it was is a sort of freedom, because as soon as you're getting into that side, you are also becoming part of the same economical system that Satoshi actually tried to fight against. Now, I'm not saying what Satoshi really wanted, but because I don't know, but I know that he wanted the decentralized world. That's what he built Bitcoin for. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but how do you think this regulation thing could really help? It does help with the adoption, but above that,
look, there was a few topics you said there. One is decentralization, which true decentralization doesn't exist in a way. And I'll give you an example because again, regulations in America can they can restrict anything, right? I'm thinking about the three topics and how to formulate this argument because there's three different things at stake, right? You got the strongest companies in the world who run the world. BlackRock,
Exactly.
BlackRock, Guggenheim, and Goldman Sachs. Probably BlackRock and Goldman Sachs. These two people run the world, literally run the world. Okay, this isn't something political. This is fact. They run the world. They out of the
They have
60,
the flow of cash around the system.
they have the flow of everything. They have the flow of literally everything, right? They're bigger than 160 countries around the world. More, 180 countries around the world if they put their if they liquidate their assets per se. Not that they would, but then you have this idea of decentralization where a country like North Korea, if they operate like a DAO, right, which they cannot because of their communism and things like that,
It doesn't
potentially
allow it.
they're not going to allow it, but potentially they could be one of the strongest countries in the world, right? If they made their own decisions, if they could use their own resources. Maybe this is a bad example because North Korea is a extremely communist nation, extremely closed off. Iran's a better example because of the 18th largest economy in the world, 15th largest population, pretty wealthy nation per capita. If you look at the world, right, it may be hard times because of the currency, but compared to the world population and per capita money supply, it's one of the wealthiest countries in the world. And then you look at India, where the wealth gap is the biggest in the world, right? The poorest and the richest person, it's got to be the right there in Mumbai. Everybody knows you got the most amount of billionaires, some of the most amount of billionaires in the world, and the most amount of people living in poverty, extreme poverty. And there's only one road that crosses them. So why we're talking about regulations is so important is because there's so many scams already in the dollar market, in the fiat market, right? The $20 bill is the most counterfeit product in the world, in the history of counterfeit products. The $20 bill, uh, literally, the $20 fiat bill. And so that's a dollar. That's a unit of value in dollar format. And that's already the biggest scam in the world. That's the biggest copied thing in the world. So what's going to happen with crypto if we have, what is it, 9,000 coins now? Yeah, there's a ton of scams. There's a ton of bad actors. Look at Luna. Well, that's a whole nother thing we can get into.
Yeah, we
Uh,
should actually. We were
but if
talking
you
about it the other day, by the way.
but if Luna, which was just a stable coin or an algorithmic stable coin, stable means stable, one to one. Nothing. If these things can't stay one to one, then what's the point? Of course, we're going to need regulation to come in and sort that out. Do we love regulation? No, but yes, in order for it to be stable and work,
And make it
this is
work. Yeah, of
and this is
course.
for the whole environment of the world, then it needs to be stable because even fiat currencies are extremely unstable, right? The lira, we've seen what's happening in Turkey in front of our eyes. The
We
real,
have
the
we have
toman,
the
it's
biggest one,
crazy.
real, in Taman in Iran. This is
Of
what
course.
happens in making so many people uproar in Iran, like in Abadan right now. But which is
But
so sad.
that's
But
of course it's sad, but this is in a regulated market. It's highly
yeah,
regulated
sure.
and it's highly manipulated. Don't get me wrong, but what happens in an unregulated, decentral system where everybody, kind of acts like a DAO? Who makes the decisions? The people? Well, the people don't know even what's good for
What
them.
is going on?
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I would,
sure, sure.
I'm not, I'm looking, I'm the Bitcoin maxi here. I'm the, biggest proponent for blockchain, but I'm also extremely worried when people say decentralized, decentralized, as if they think they can run the world with decentralization or they think that it can
Sure.
work. Imagine if you gave the power, to the banks to decide, I'm sorry, the, exchanges that were extremely decentral to decide. The fact is that banks doing what they do and doing the rates that we talked about, 7%, this and that, 3-day transfer rate, this is for a reason, right? They want to
Of
track the
course,
flow
of
of money.
course. It's all comes back down to the meaning of consciousness. You have to be conscious about crypto. You have to be conscious about finance and gold, and what is valuable, what you get value from. Because if you, as a person who is advocating for crypto, you are conscious about crypto. You are conscious about the meaning and the gist of this whole thing, this whole system. You can make a right decision for yourself, and then also actually share the same idea with others who could, follow in that footstep. But for a lot of people I know around, they talk about decentralization, as you said, and they're even creating a centralized system inside a decentralized system. For example, you're creating a token inside Ethereum, which is a decentralized system, and then you call it a decentralized token. That at the end of the day, all of the money is controlled by one person who has the adminship to that whole token, and they could rock pool and do a lot of big frauds. And so this is what's happening for a lot of things and projects that are popping up. And now talking about Luna, I mean, let's just step back a little bit before Luna. There was a question in the
Really,
chat.
really quickly, I want to address because you said Binance, and think about Binance if they're the biggest one in the world, which they are, by way of market cap, trading, uh, brand, everything. They also own some of the most powerful products that can be easily manipulated for the
Sure.
purchaser of any other coin, which is something like Coin Market Cap, which is some of their media arms. They throw events. You don't see if JP Morgan, which they do, right? They invest across the board. But if we found out that they own the majority share of media such as CNBC, which is the number one financial news company, right? If we found out they own 100% of it, which they don't, but let's say somehow we found
Let's
out
say
that,
they do for the sake of the conversation.
imagine what the world would do. They would go insane. They would go insane that the biggest, one of the biggest banks in the world also owns the biggest media company for financial service. This is exactly what's happening in crypto. So again, I'm crypto, I'm blockchain, I'm Bitcoiner, all the, but at the same time, it's very obvious that massive manipulation in a centralized way is happening. Binance owns a lot of products that can skew people to think their way and to buy their products and to
Yeah.
invest their, and that's extremely dangerous. And so we were talking about the future of Binance on the previous call I just had, and I don't know how good it is, right? I don't know how sophisticated of a product it is outside of it's just, a
Well, it's
centralized
it's just a
system.
very
It's an extreme,
centralized system
absolutely,
that you could
absolutely.
possibly trust for very normal day-to-day actions. Normal day-to-day actions that you are not, you don't need to trust a very big system behind it. So that's it. That's the whole set of centralized systems. They're
Yeah, and
cheap for transactions, and that's what keeps them going, I think,
but when we're talking
especially on the
about
smart guy.
the backing of products, if you look at central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, they're coming. They're going to come fast because for the first time, we can move from. I don't love them. I don't agree with them. I'm just saying they're coming, whether you like it or not. And so you went from a system that was gold and products. So whether you traded chickens for a horse for a house for whatever, and then it became the gold back system. And up until 1971, we had the gold back system where every dollar could be traded for that amount of gold in the bank.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
we got the credit system after that, the credit system where it's all just based on credit. And now, what's the next version? Obviously, it's crypto and the digital assets of what's the backing of that? So, if we're going to talk about Luna's situation and stable coins need to have a backing. For every
Yeah.
coin that's on the market, there needs to be that amount of value in the vault, right, in the bank. And so,
So do
when you
you
look
think
at this,
it's a good idea to have it to have like something like gold back them, or a better idea to have something like an equivalent pegged US dollar or euro um, fiat currency back them? Which is really the best? Because there are also a lot
I,
of conversation with USDT not having
sure,
and concerns about
sure.
like this one-to-one peg is might not really do as well as it should.
Yeah, I think when you look at stable coins, the whole point of the stability needs to have a backing. And so when we saw what happened with Luna, Luna is also an algorithmic stable coin. So there was never going to be, the backing as much as it said it was. As the company loses its value, as there's that much less money in the bank, the backing starts to, fall. The wheels start to come off, and so it's a very interesting product, and it happens very quickly. We forget how quickly that these things happen, right? What's the best option, like you asked? I don't know. When you look at what the gold backed dollar looked like, it was a very successful time in our history. It took the power, definitely out of the hands of, I mean, I'm talking about the switch from gold to nothing. It took the power away from people like, the Indias and the Irans, where they had tons of gold. And, what did that mean for the system? It's just a decoupling of the asset. One's a hedge and one's a commodity. And so I think that I don't know what's good for the future. I don't know, but I know that the Luna situation with zero backing, it reminds me of the Fed, and the Fed and the dollar, which is the dollar compared to other currencies. You see, this is, I think, just 2 weeks ago that we hit an all-time, or one of very high mark after what, 20 years on the US dollar index, right? And now you're seeing the lira, the toman, the euro, all of these, just crashing because the strength of the dollar. But the strength of the dollar is not so strong here in America when gas and inflation and things like that is really affecting things. So is the system good? No, it's not good, because we printed the most amount of US dollars in the last, I printed 40% of all the supply of dollars in the last 24 months. So every dollar ever printed in history, 40% of that was printed in the last 24 months. And then we're seeing gas, then we're seeing, inflation on heating, electricity, everything is just going through the roof. Yeah, of course it's doing that. Of course it's doing that. This is exactly what we asked for when you print money. When you print money, this is what happens. The beautiful thing about crypto is that there's a set supply. And like Bitcoin, when that supply is done, it's done. As it's being mined, we can see, power come to the system, right? As we're nearing 19 million, 20 million, 21 million in the next 30, 40 years, as we get closer to 21 million supply, the strength of the network keeps getting stronger and stronger. Hence, the cost per coin is going up. This is not rocket science, right? This is just
It
simple
is true.
economics.
By the way, let's have these two questions that
Yeah,
came in. Answer them before moving forward with the conversation, if you don't mind, huh?
yeah.
One of them would ask you, Mogaddam Mohammad Hussein asks you, I have an idea about blockchain technology. How can I share that with researchers? I think this would be a quick question, right? What do you
I mean,
think?
how? I mean, I guess it's a, difficult to say how to share them with researchers. The best advice I can give is, LinkedIn is a very good community. I think you should definitely connect with like-minded people on LinkedIn. Find the people doing
Sure.
the research in your companies. If you love the research around Cardano, if you love the research around Polygon, try to find people working in the Polygon network. Try to find people touching products that are building in the Polygon network, and work your way up. But it's kind of a difficult open-ended question, because how to find good researchers is a big issue in blockchain. And then just connecting with like-minded people in crypto blockchain. Developers are the most difficult thing to find, because the good ones are being taken by Fortune 500 companies, and a lot of startups are having difficult time filling the roles of developers for, Solidity, React, Unity, things that are related to the metaverse, or, blockchain smart contract solutions, building them. So I don't know how to answer that, but the best advice I can give is LinkedIn probably is your best friend. A lot
Yeah.
of smart
Go on
people
social
there.
media.
Social media is good, but find people under the ladder of the product, or the language, or the blockchain that you like. Like if it's Polygon Studios, Polygon Network is investing a lot of money into a lot of different areas, from gaming to metaverse to different token products for NFTs. So I think it's LinkedIn is your best bet, is my opinion. Hope that helps.
Maybe you could also find some local communities who are, gathering around, talking about different topics. They could lead you to the right people they know. It's always nice to find the communities, after all. And I think LinkedIn, uh, as mentioned, it's one of the best places to find the professional people. So you could reach out,
Yeah,
send in, connect and reach out, send a message to them, and then hear and follow up. Don't forget to follow up, because people in this field are, especially on LinkedIn, are very busy if they're professionals, and you need to follow up and not to back down. If you don't hear from them, you might want to just follow up every once in a while. So another one is Kurosh, who says, strong DAOs, and we're going to talk about DAOs going forward. But he says strong DAOs within closed countries, like let's say like Iran, how to prevent government intervention. This is this is something a lot of people in communities in Iran are also talking about.
yeah,
Like we're having a conversation of like creating a DAO with a group of friends ourselves, and this is something that they are constantly worrying about. But you know what I personally tell them myself, Kevin, is that really don't worry about it. Don't worry, because the first thing that you really need to worry about when you're creating a DAO is that, does your DAO really add any value off on any product, or is it just a DAO so that we would just basically create a token and sell it? So
yeah,
remember that it's really important what product you build, and then the product will find its own community, and then the community would require you to build a DAO. Never start by building a DAO
yeah.
first. Build the product first, and then move to the DAO. What's your opinion? What's your take on this?
You said it very nicely. I think you said it very perfectly in the fact of like, what's the DAO adding value to, or what's the point of it? I like the fact, and just to answer the question here, because it's a difficult question to answer, right? We all know that regulations or someone will come in and try to enforce their
Sabotage.
power. I mean, but it's I don't know if it's necessarily. Of course, I get the difficulties around closed countries. The Irans of the world. It's a very closed, high to low, top to bottom system. But the reality is like DAOs. It's man, it's difficult because at the end of the day, you're still going to need community involvement. You're still going to need some type of the physical world to run the DAO, in the sense of maybe it's a payment. If you're just doing it for the sake of a technology, which doesn't need to be physical per se, then great. But I would argue in third world countries or developing third world countries, a lot of things physical need to happen, as in like banking still needs a bank, right? Still needs an ATM, still needs a transactional uh, payment method, right? It still needs those card machines. I think that to say we're coming into Web3 completely, to use all MetaMask in the shops or the backali is we're pretty far removed from there. You got to look at the different steps. To just quantum leap into the next world is something I'm looking out of Africa to do, because Africa still is very behind in their payment methods, whereas Iran is extremely sophisticated. They have banks, they have credit, they have debit, they have all of that, whereas a lot of people in Africa are unbanked, right? This unbanked problem still requires either a physical solution, or they need to quantum leap into crypto, Web3 assets to come of age, I guess. But to answer the question on the DAO and how to mitigate that on technologies and products based on proper technologies, it's fantastic. But where I'll give you an example that a couple friends and I in Iran are specifically looking at a DAO is for the event space. If an event organizer essentially creates a DAO amongst their peers, amongst their clients, and everybody is able to participate in that, to throw an event, right? Everybody gets to decide the speakers. This is a very low level example, right? We get to decide the topic, the speakers, the locations. the sponsors, this and that. I think it's a very pure form of a DAO. I think it's a very exciting part of it, and I think that can make sense. That's a very low level example, extremely easy to do. But at the end of the day, I'm going to need to get the okay from the person, get the license, get the Mojavez, make sure the Amoken is still good, make sure the person that's behind me is supporting it. And so when you look at the funny type of DAOs, like when a buyer group gets together for the purpose of buying something or developing a product, then I guess no one can really stop you, right? Everybody's just doing their own bit online, and as long as everybody has the purpose, a common purpose for a higher goal, I think great things can happen. But like you said, and like I just ended by saying, what's the purpose, right? What's the purpose of the DAO, other than to fight the system or to fight regulations or go around it, right? A DAO is much more powerful than that. A DAO can act as like a country, right? A DAO can enact laws within their system. A DAO can create terms and conditions for their own users and people. That's what's exciting about it, right? I think that creating terms and conditions and governance and rewarding the voting and the governance of those laws that the DAO creates for whatever it is, that's the real cool part. That's the power, right? That's the amazing things, because when you get 10 like-minded people in a room, you create companies like Uber, WhatsApp, Facebook, right? It takes teams to do this. But if you don't have a common goal or a goal that's bigger uh, than the DAO itself, for the purposes of just saying you have a decentralized, autonomous organization, it's that last word. It's the organization that's the most important part. And that's what's extremely exciting. So when it's done correctly, whether it's in Iran or not, I wouldn't necessarily pose the question as like, evading laws or getting around regulations. I would say, what's the power behind the DAO, and what's purpose does it serve, and what solutions is it solving?
And yeah, true. Basically DAOs, when we're talking about it, they're always confined within the purpose and the system of the project they serve. So, for example, if you're taking a look at SushiSwap in Ethereum or Uniswap in Ethereum, they're totally about the economical functionality of that decentralized exchange. It doesn't go beyond that. So there is this question of what purpose does it say serves, as you mentioned, and yeah, that's the case. So one thing I just want to remind our audience is that this is an English session that we have with Kevin, and we will be having other sessions with Kevin, probably in Farsi as well, mostly. And so we're moving on with this English session. So there is no subtitle for it, of course, unfortunately. However, I'm really thanking you that you have been with us so far, and also engaging with us with your questions and with Kevin about his expertise. So, Kevin, back with NFTs, everyone around, they, I mean, early adopters, even myself, who is, as I mentioned, new to like creating smart contracts on NFTs. We are kind of confused as if how to understand if a project is like profitable, like Board Ape Club and things like that to invest in. Because at the end of the day, like many other people say, these are in terms of like the normal thing that people understand out of NFTs, of course, is that these are basically JPEG images, right? And how does that become so much valuable? There is so much part of it in art, but we're not art experts. We don't know. So how does this thing work, and how do you believe this could evolve into something bigger when we're moving into other industries, as you were talking, of course?
Yeah, the JPEG, argument is pretty valid, because you have a lot of projects out there just with a couple. Maybe it's good art, maybe it's not. I'm not a art guy, right? I don't have an eye for it, but I know that one thing is true, and that's the community. Community is everything, right? Without the community, the power of that art means nothing. The only reason why Bored Ape or CryptoPunks is so valuable is because of the community that built it and the interactivity that happened with it. Like I told you, the restaurant that was made with the Bored Ape logo, it's an IP thing, right? It's about using that IP to do whatever, print T-shirts, create restaurants, and that's just based on the community effect. If there wasn't a community effect around it, then it would just be another picture, which is the problem with other projects, right? Other projects, they just do a 10,000 collection, they do a couple things in the roadmap, and that's about it, right? Now, what's in the roadmap? Why should I be spending money for this company that never built a game before, never built a metaverse before, hasn't done anything for marketing, and I'm supposed to trust this company to do what, right? So I think we just have to be careful. I'm not the best person to ask about art NFTs. I have no passion for them. I'm not interested in them. I don't think they serve a purpose. I think close to 99.9% of them will disappear in 5 to 10 years, maybe 1 or 2 years. I think that a lot of it, if you're an art fan, you buy art for art, right? You don't know if something's going to go up. If you have money, you buy Picasso because Picasso is already a highly valued piece of art. If you're looking for the next Picasso, you're probably not going to be alive long enough to wait around for that. Maybe I'm sure there's artists like Banksy. Banksy is a very famous street artist that his art is already going for 100K, 200K. But most likely when we pass on and our kids are or 50s and 60s, maybe Banksy art will be worth 10 million, 20 million, just like Picasso, right? And maybe Beeple, when we're gone, will be worth hundreds of, it's already worth millions, but hundreds of millions or not. My point is that art probably takes a lot longer than just a couple months to explode. So I'm not interested in the art side of NFTs. I think what's happening in like fashion is fantastic. I think music is amazing because if you're looking at music, you're looking at music rights organizations. So in America, we have a couple big music right organizations. They run all of the music. They run the world of music. If they don't sign off on it or if they don't accept it, then you don't get to play your music on the radio. And if you do play it on the radio or your website, you have to pay a royalty, right? This is a very centralized system. If you want to talk about decentralization of NFTs and crypto and the technology, then
True.
you got to look at music because music is going to give the power back to the individual artist. The individual artist is going to be able to essentially put out their own music without record labels, or the record labels can obviously put out their musical NFTs as well. But then the fans get to participate in the success of that piece of music. They get to own that piece of music, part of their own IP, and do whatever they want with it. They've paid the bill, and the artist gets their share of the payment, but also in secondary
The
markets.
real share.
Yeah,
So like
and I think
platforms like
that's extremely
Audius
powerful. Exactly.
are actually building up. They're becoming pioneers of this, Spotify-like system in a
Exactly.
decentralized world. But still, I mean, whenever we're looking at this, we're also looking at the gas, and that's one of the biggest issues with pushing this move forward towards, making this adoption go beyond this level, especially for music, because you want to play. You get a play. How do you record that play? You have to make like some sort of interaction with the smart contract. So
All right.
there is the cost of listening to it, and the cost sometimes. I mean, the costs of these sort of interactions sometimes are, pushing people back to invest more time into coming online. They say, all right, this is a cool idea. It's a decentralized system for musicians. We can support them this way. But we go back, we're paying even much more. We could pay the same money and support this musician by listening to it on Spotify. It's still centralized, but it's still cool. It works for us. You know, um, how do you think it would evolve from this place where we are into that place where we want it to be in the future? I mean, more adoption
If
for
if
these sort
if
of NFTs.
if you look at the word decentralization, I think with music, it's possibly if we can adopt musical NFTs and really get at it, it's probably the best place to look at like a perfect decentral model, because if the radios want a piece of music that's been a music NFT based, released as a music NFT, as an NFT, well, then they're going to have to participate in the system of, blockchain. They're going to have to participate in the tokenization of their asset. Rather than they own the piece of music, you have to go to ASCAP or EMI in America right now, pay the royalties there, and it's completely out of the hands of the artist. The artist is the last person that's thought of, right? Flipping that completely on its head is music NFTs, where the artist essentially has the power from A to Z. Tory Lanez released an album. I believe it was an album, or was it just one song? And he sold 1 million pieces of that song or album, and that's amazing, with no
It's
record label,
mind-blowing, to be honest with you.
with no record label, with no one behind him, just him. Of course, he's a big guy, and
And he
he
has a
was
big
able to do it.
community.
He has a big community, so it always goes back to, and now whoever bought that NFT gets to participate in the ownership of that song or the album, and they can do whatever they want with it. And so, next thing I look at is fashion. Fashion NFTs are extremely exciting because of the, also you got to look at the verification, right? I want to know if this is really real. I want to know if this is really Louis Vuitton, or I want to know if this is really, Tory Lane's music and not just a copy of it. And so
So
the
wait
technology
a
comes to
second.
life.
So when you're saying fashion and verification in terms of NFTs, can you elaborate on this? What do you mean by verification? Like you have a QR code on a product and then
Sure. At the very least, because it's registered on the blockchain, you know that this block number is attached to this, item, and whatever this item is extremely exciting to kind of utilize. And fashion is a big one, right? In the future, we're going to have NFC, near field communication buttons. They're microscopic now. You can put them literally in a piece of clothing, right? And if you just tag that piece of clothes, it can go to the blockchain and verify if it's, really this, or if it is what it says. That's insane, right?
it
QR
really
is
is insane.
QR is the visual version of it. So I can argue maybe I could copy the QR, I could put it on a tag or whatever. But I would
What if
say,
it's a sensor that could like
what if it's
get
like an
the
NFC thing?
signals,
Yeah.
translate it back and then connect with the blockchain? It's a very, very big idea. Do you think that they are moving toward this at the moment, or they have any,
100%.
proposed plans?
100%. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Fashion companies definitely are looking at this, because luxury fashion is also the most counterfeit product, right? You have millions of Louis Vuitton bags around the world at the same that are fake. At the same time, Louis Vuitton's brand LVHM, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, LVHM is one of the most valued brands in the world. Well, I think the third richest man in the world is the owner of Louis Vuitton. So at the same time, you have the most counterfeit products in the world,
Yep.
and the wealthiest people selling the real ones. So I'd like to believe they want to secure their products, and so I think it's a natural fit for, and it's, why not? It's a very unique product. And speaking about the metaverse, right? Really quickly, to maybe we can end the session on
Yeah.
this, on the
On
metaverse
that
is,
on that note, yeah.
yeah, I mean,
I
because
mean,
NFTs play a big role in the metaverse, and then you
it's
want
actually
your
backbone of
avatar,
it.
yeah, you want your avatar to wear good clothes. You want to um, you want the avatar to participate in, just like you do in the regular world. And NFTs fashion, if you have a store in the metaverse, you want to play the music, that can be based off musical NFT. So I think that the NFT is going to, participate heavily in the metaverse, and just for your avatar alone.
So let me tell you something. My personal idea, Kevin. on metaverse is kind of a long-lasting technology. I mean, you have to wait for it to come to you for a very long period, maybe a generation. That's my perception because the hardware is not there yet perfectly. Yeah, there is like the visual composites that are available online. It loads and things like that, but they're very simple at the moment. The whole concept behind it is much, much bigger, and the hardware isn't there. What sort of promise do you think this metaverse can bring? Because companies like Meta, who actually started advocating for the idea, pushing it up, like in the whole public opinion sector, like everyone started knowing it, um, are actually saying themselves that this will cost them a lot of money, and then they're not very focused on it at the moment. Like, so what do you think is going to go from here? And also, which sections, like apart from fashion that you mentioned, that could be thriving on metaverse, in terms of the visuals, of course, which other industries are being able to integrate with this phenomenon?
Yeah, the first part of your question with how difficult or expensive it is, I'm sure this is the conversation a lot of people were having during the first days of the internet. It's expensive to have a website. It's expensive to have a developer. We don't know how to do it. I'm sure it's difficult. I'm sure there's, bad things and hacking and this and that. I'm sure these are the exact same things people were saying in the first days of the internet, right? And when you don't understand something, you don't know how to attack it, and then you get left behind, right? If you don't get a hold of it. So I think that that's something that's happening in the metaverse. No one really understands it. No one knows how to build. No one knows how to attack a solution there. So I'm sure again this is the same stuff that's happening, just 25 years later, right? And then other than fashion and retail, um, in the metaverse, I think that we will be spending more time with our avatars. Maybe not our generation, but the generation after us. They're a very gaming focused generation. So gaming is obviously very one to one. I think that everybody knows that. There's a lot of people that are gamers. They want to live in their worlds, and the metaverse allows them to live in that world. But I look at experiences maybe like events, music, events, education. I think education is a big one. I think when you look at the way kids are attached to, like, babies, literally 5-year-olds, 3-year-olds, they're attached to the iPhone. If the parent gives
Yeah, I
the
totally
iPhone and
agree.
they well, what if we can create metaverses, avatars that are more educational? What if we can have schools that teach people education? Why don't we just educate them through the metaverse? And I think right now it's too early days. It's more fun in games. It's more, gambling. It's more rock and roll. It's more kind of art and NFT art and things like that. But as it becomes more sophisticated, a lot of the meetings are going to happen there. A lot of the workplace, our office, is going to move to the metaverse. I think just this conversation alone is very, this is a video conference, but we're in exactly halfway around the world,
It could be in a,
and
yeah,
we
true.
could we could we could put some goggles on, and everybody here can join us as well. And so that can look like an office. I think what NVIDIA is doing with their Omniverse technology is amazing. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out.
All
I
right.
think it's pretty amazing. So I think the office, as in the way we do work and the way we educate, are going to be very big parts of the metaverse, and very exciting too. I think that instead of having an iPad in front of a child, that same iPad can be in front of the child, but it'll be in a metaverse where he's talking with his friends or walking around and learning things, right? Maybe not just gaming or listening to YouTube. I think that Web3 solutions for education are extremely exciting too. Learn to earn, you have play to earn, you
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah. These are
all
very
these to
fair.
earns, but I think learning to earn is extremely exciting. Yeah.
So I mean, it was great really talking to you. I'm sure a lot of people have been here to listen and learn as well. Unfortunately, we don't have the earn model yet, learn to earn model, but
It's
it's really an
coming.
exciting model. Play to earn, learn to earn, and I hope we can see it on Metaverse. I totally agree with you that Metaverse is a very, very good thing to follow up in the future because right now we have mobile phone, we have the computer or tablets that are actually an extension of our existence. I mean, we have some sort of a symbiote with them. It kind of works. Um, it kind of works with us. It's like part of our system. But having that born
We're already robots. Don't mistake it. We
Yeah, we're
don't need
already
we
cyborgs.
don't need yeah, we're already cyborgs because if you remember 15, 20 years ago, we're not old, but we're not young either anymore, and we remember that this iPhone right here can it used to be 50 different products. Literally, the products would
Yeah,
take up the whole table. Fax machine, you got printer, you could do everything. So what's next, right? And what's going to come in the VR, the AR is extremely exciting. I think AR will outpace VR over the long run. I think that that'll be the ultimate winner. And even for one-to-one experiences in the
interesting.
metaverse, I think AR is going to be extremely more valuable because you can kind of take it with you, whereas VR is going to need to
Y-
be some type of glasses
exactly.
until we get to the lens or something that goes in the eye, which will get there. But
Eventually.
eventually. So, try to, thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. I think it's great for people to hear in English as well. For the Farsi speaking friends out there, we'll
Yeah,
definitely do a Farsi session. But yeah, I think you should take a look at some of these technologies that excite you, learn them, read the white papers, compare what good products to regular products are, compare your favorite products in life, in the real world life, to what can happen in the metaverse. And you'll see very quickly that we're much closer than we think, right? I think we're much closer to getting fully digital than we
yeah.
think, just
I
for the
think
purpose of the
we
iPhone.
we are already digital, but we're right getting it passed through a moment in time where this speed of getting digital is just surpassing the amount that it used to be. I mean, um,
Yeah,
we're digital since 1990s, but you
exactly,
know, it's
exactly.
becoming part of integration with the whole ecosystem that we're living in. I'm
Until
looking
we get
forward
our
to Web3
neural
more.
link, until
Yeah,
we get our neural link, then we're still gonna have to play the physical game. But yeah, no, a lot of exciting things happening. Yeah, it would be great to follow up. Maybe we'll do the next one in Farsi and follow up
sure
on all the
thing.
things we said to see, it's good to see
We go
where
round and round.
yeah, and the system's moving so quickly that even in 1 month from now, you can see, oh, we were right there, we were wrong there, and it's good to talk about what's happening.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Kevin, and thank everybody who has been online, listening to us, engaging with us, and sending in questions. I'm sure we're going to have fun more topics with Kevin to talk about, and we're letting you know very soon. Thanks, Kevin, and thanks everybody. It was a very big pleasure to have you today, and I
Much love,
really
brother.
thank you.
Much love. Definitely. Thank
Much
you.
love as
Thank you to
well.
everybody listening, and we'll catch you guys soon. Have a great day, huh?
Yep.
See
Have a
you.
great day. Cheers.
Take care.